Welcome to No Strings Attached Street Ministry. A few months ago, I started a video series about what I can store without refrigeration on the van and still have a good food source to where you don't have to worry about refrigeration. Well, today I'm going to talk a little bit about sprouting, and these are some of the items here that you can use and carry in your van, grow in your van, and still have good quality food and nutrition on a daily basis. So let's get into a little bit of sprouting, and I'll explain to you a little bit of what sprouting is and how different methods you can do to grow these sprouts. So let's start talking about it. Well, as you can see, there's many different kinds of seeds you can buy. You can buy these as simple as these here came from Richards. You can also get them, bulk seeds at places like I think Whole Foods and different, some of these better upper class type grocery stores. But the more you spend on retail, it's quite a bit. So what I would recommend to do, if you're online and you have availability to have packages sent to you, is to maybe go on to some of your websites that sell bulk seeds, because you can buy them at a whole lot bigger bulk and at a lot cheaper price. The most expensive way to buy the seeds is through little packets like this that you find at Home Depot, Walmart, places like that. You're probably looking at 50 cents to $3 for a little package of seeds. It doesn't even hardly give you enough to even look at. You probably need 20 little packages to make one thing of seeds or sprouts. But as you can see in bulks, when you get into the bulk ones, you can get into food grade seeds, and also you can broccoli, and there's so many different kinds that you can buy out there. Do your research on the ones that are well known and popular, and also that taste very well. But there's just so many different ways that you can have a really good bulk salad. You figure in one of these here full of sprouts, this is a half a pint. So one little jar of sprouts will give you one heck of a nice little salad for a day. So if you have a container of just simple mason jars, you can do your sprouting and everything in those sprouts. You can maintain them, and you just plant one every single day, and then that way you have one coming available every day. So you'll figure out how to balance and manage those to where you can actually have a nice viable nutritional salad to go along with any other meal that you need, and it not really cost you a whole lot of money to do so. These little bags are anywhere from $5 to $5 to $7, is about what this is. But this is a whole pound of seeds, and believe me, your one little thing here is 1 tablespoon of seeds will produce enough to fill these jars up. So you use a tablespoon of seeds, you get quite a bit of tablespoons of seeds out of this one bag, trust me, so they'll last you a long time. So let's get into a little bit ideal of number one, of the health risk and the concerns that most people have about sprouting. Is there's so much E. coli out there, and salmonella poisoning, I believe, is what is related to those. You'll find a lot of places like some of these big chain stores that has been shut down. Even grocery stores lately has been having runs of these poisonings happening. But there's also ways. You got to realize, when people, 90% of the people that do sprouting, and even commercially, they don't have no clue. They just sprout regular seeds, just normal, like just throw them in a pot and let them go, and then they repackage them and sell them to you. It shows you you're lucky if they even rinse them. I mean, just to be sure of, But with you doing it for yourself and your family, you can take a few extra steps and make it a lot safer for you even yet. There's a few things that you can do on that. The one that I like the best is bringing water up to 140 degrees and maintaining the 140 degrees. And then you use a product called hydrogen peroxide 3%. This solution right here, if you take a small saucepan or even like a little one of the little cast iron pans and little small ones about this big around, and you put a few ounces of hydrogen peroxide in there, bring it up to 140 degrees, dump your tablespoon of seeds in that and let it set for 5 minutes and maintain that temperature right at 140 degrees for 5 minutes. That sterilizes your seeds, but it doesn't damage your seeds. If you go above 140 degrees, then you take a chance on losing the production of maybe killing the seeds off to where they're not sprouting properly. So you'll be able to tell the difference and find out. So it's well worth getting a real good thermometer to maintain your temperature of water. But remember, you have to do that for 5 minutes. And then once you get it done, and once you do, pull it straight off the heat, dump the water out, rinse the seeds, and rinse them in just regular tap water. And you want to do that for 1 minute. And then the seeds are safe again to where they're not going to die. And then at that point, as you're doing that, the most custom is to put in the jar your seeds and put it in underwater, just enough to submerge the seeds inside the water in the jar itself. And when you do that, just let it set for 6 to 12 hours. What that does is it softens the seeds, which your heating process has already softened mostly anyway, so it may even remove this step if you wanted to. You'll probably do a pretty good germination at that point anyway, but I would suggest at least let them soak in water solution at least a couple hours. Then drain it out and rinse the seeds, and then set it inside of a container to where it's like this, to where it's actually draining, the seeds. Now for the next 4 to 7 days, you take this and you fill enough water to submerge whatever's in this jar. You switch it around and you let it soak and get really hydrated, and then you reset it again and make sure they dry back out. Remember, when you're using it in the van, you got to understand sometimes you're in places where it gets pretty hot. Or let's say you go in the store and it's all closed up. So your temperatures inside the van can get extremely high at times. So in doing this, you have to pretty much chase the heat. You have to chase the good weather, which most vanners do. They do chase the good weather. Ideally for the sprouts is between, like I said, anywhere between 80 degrees on the high end. If you go over that, you're going to start getting to more of the molds and mildews and things like that will start growing on your seeds and in your sprouts. So try to stay under 80 degrees, and try to have a fan close by, maybe blowing on them, or some kind of air movement. This here will help with the inability for the mold and stuff to grow. And you can go all the way down to 60 degrees or so. Most seeds gardens usually thrive in the 65, 70 degree-ish area, between 75 and 65 degrees that I found that they sprout the best and the quickest. So, you get the better sprouts at that route. So now that you understand on the kinds of seeds that you can get and the products that you receive, this is a way to sterilize your seeds, so you take away that possibility. If you're doing this for your whole family, like young kids or even an elderly person or someone that has a bad immune system or some kind of a compromised immune system, go this extra step. It's worth the 5 minutes of your time. Trust me, it really is. Why not be safe about it? Also do a little bit more research on, I want you to get the most nutrition out of your seeds that you can, because that's the purpose of using them. Some of these seeds will give you 30 to 50 times more nutrition than the actual vegetable itself. So it's actually high nutritional value to eat sprouts, eat it in that form because it's so compact. But just remember, there's some seeds out there that if you heat up, you might lose a few of the common, you know, vitamins and things like, I think it's A and D and a few others, that you might lose by heating those seeds or heating the sprouts itself. But you know what? Cooking sprouts that makes a beautiful soup. I mean, you can take like bean sprouts and things like that. You can put in a beef broth and make a nice soup out of it. And you can cook it in a soup and add a few other things like chives and different things you can throw in there. And you can actually build a lot of really nice, beautiful soups out of that are very fulfilling and very, well worth warming your tummy, you could say. So consider to experiment with those. The biggest thing about eating, and this right here, mostly is just to get you to where you're not starving no more. So, all in all, is it better to cook it? It could be. I would rather you cook it and eat it than to not cook it and then be scared to eat it. So, always think about, the possibility of using this product as something that can sustain and also help your finances along the way. Vegetables these days are very expensive. I don't know about you, but every time I've ever tried to eat healthy and go into a vegan diet or a vegetable-rich diet, it gets very, very expensive to do so. And that's probably one of the most expensive ways to eat. So this is a good way you can get the same nutrition. It's good for your health, good for your body, but yet what it will do for you in the long run is just so amazing. But also there's chemical reactions also by heating it that actually helps on some, that actually helps along with even cancers. But if you're scared of the hydrogen peroxide, remember hydrogen peroxide is 2 hydrogen atoms and 2 oxygen. If let set out to where it's no longer effective, to where it's no longer fuzzing, if you put your finger in or whatever and it doesn't fuzz, then all it's done is turn back to water. That extra hydrogen atom will actually evaporate, and it'll go back out, and then it just turns back into normal, regular water. So it's not dangerous at all, and I wouldn't go drinking it at a high level, all the time. It could possibly do some damage. I don't know. I haven't done the research on that, but like I said before, you do it. But as long as you're using it just as an agent to sterilize, it's a very soft sterilization process for it, and it does the job, and it's very safe. So you can just rinse it right off and don't even use the same hydrogen to do another thing. This is the cheapest thing you can find. This is 3%. I think I bought this 32 ounce 1 quart at Walmart for like 79 cents, I believe. So it's not like it's a lot of money, but it also does so much for you anyway for cleaning cuts and things like that, So there's so many different uses for this product. You'd be surprised what it's actually good for. But that's something there that I would keep on the van anyway. Iodine is another one. Did you know that even vinegar? So let's say you wanted it raw and you wanted to have a nice salad, but you didn't want to kill all the nutrients off of it. But you're still scared about sprouting and the E. coli and all the bad stuff. Vinegar. If you use like balsamic vinegar, make a vinaigrette out of balsamic vinegar or even apple cider vinegar, even red wine vinegar, and you use these along with some salad oils or even olive oils, you'll actually make a very nice salad dressing. And by keeping these products also is something that is shelf stable, so you can keep it on your shelf and not have to worry about it going bad. You don't have to refrigerate this. So this is just some good ideas, and it's very tasty. Play around with it, explore with it. Italian dressings. You remember the 5 Seasons Italian thing Grandma used to make in the little cookie jar? You add the different measurements. Put the oil in there to a certain line, and you add the water, I think, to a certain line, and the vinegar to a certain line. You add all the little seasoning pack in there and you shake it up. Guess what? You don't have to refrigerate it. You can keep it, you'll be able to use it faster than you could ever use for it. So sprouting is a very, very great process, you could say, of really bringing a lot of nutrition into you at a very cheap price, believe it or not. I mean, if I can spend $30 on seeds and it feed me nutritional vegetables for a whole year, isn't that a lot cheaper than buying all the big vegetables and making all the big giant meals and things like that, to bring those same nutrients? And most of them you'll end up killing anyway because you're going to cook them. So unless you eat your vegetables raw, you really don't get any benefits out of them anyway. So now let's get into how to set up for sprouting. So we're going to slide down this way so you can see what I'm doing. Take your just simple mason jar, and one good way, keep your lids, keep your rings especially for sure. But what you want to do is just get a piece of regular screen. Now if you use a screen, for the screen, a special size screen is called for no-see-ums. The little holes in the screen is very, 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 very tight, so nothing will actually penetrate those. So what you do is you cut you off a little slough, right here. And the best and easiest way that I've seen to do this is to take the actual lid itself, lay over the screen tightly, and trim around the lid. Now when you trim around this lid, what you're doing is creating a screen that will fit into the ring, and this will also allow air to breathe through the mason jar, and also your water to drain through. And this is how you set this up, and this is a nylon type screen. Do not use metal, because you may get metal and stuff inside your food, or I wouldn't use it. Just something that I wouldn't do. I feel the nylon's a lot safer for us to do that. Now you got your little disc, and you can take that and insert it into your lid. Make sure it's sealed all the way around, and if you're not sure, just pop your metal lid back in and then just knock it back out, and it's in there. Now when you screw this onto your glass, your mason jar, you got a nice screen right here to where it will maintain your seeds in here, but you can rinse through here, you can soak, you can drain, everything with just this lid on now, and it stays on until the day you harvest. And then once your harvest goes through, then you can just take this lid off and put your other lid back on, screw it down, and that's good for about 4 to 6 days. And you can keep that without refrigeration, and it does really well. But before you do that, make sure you give it opened air with your screen on for at least 1 day to allow all these to become almost completely dry before you store them, because you don't want humidity in there enough to where it starts any kind of mold growth or anything like that. So before you seal those up, that's a good way to use that. Now that's the mason jar system. You can get a regular bowl, a big tub, maybe it's a piece of Tupperware, and you can get it to where you can set all these jars in upside down and allow them to just sit and drain. If you got something you can set in there like this, they keep them at such an angle, then that helps the water and the air to be able to move through there really well. Now another simple one, before you get into sprouting, what I would recommend to do is to go to the store and buy some sprouts. Give it a shot. So you buy a container of sprouts and you say, all right, I'm going to buy a container of sprouts. Don't throw the containers away. You get these containers anywhere and everywhere, all over the place. Everything you can imagine is sold in these little containers. These are helpful. These are useful. It's another way of doing other kinds of seeds, like let's say wheatgrass is one. You can even have all your your alfalfa sprouts, your broccoli sprouts, your radishes, everything, your bean sprouts, your pea sprouts will all grow in this method. In the process, you take your screen again, cut you a square that fits where it fits almost flush and flat in the bottom of your tray. All these trays that's had vegetables in them has holes in the bottom. You see these 4 little holes in here? All these 4 little holes will allow air to go through here. All right. Now what you want to do with this screen in place, you take a misting bottle and you mist this screen, get it wet, and then you can take your seeds and you sprinkle your seeds all over this, that teaspoon of seeds, and sprinkle it all over that screen. Hold on to the lid. I'll show you why. I'll show you a trick. So as you get your lid, you take your bottle of water and you can add water to your lid, all right? And because they're so delicate for the first few days, you can just submerge this, and when you hold this down, the water gently flows up and consumes that seed and allows that small young plant to have its nutritional value. And then when you pull it back out, you can let it drain, and now the air can get around it, and you can keep that like that, and then do this about same as your sprouts, about 2 or 3 times a day, and that way you can always sprout your seeds in that manner as well. At that point they stay a lot more drier. The drier you keep those, but yet keep them healthy, the less chance you have for mold and mildew to grow. So this is just a couple little things that I wanted to bring to you and show you that it's not a lot to store. And remember, you can go the old-fashioned way, but mason jars is the biggest thing you could ever have. You can take one of these lids and with the cap, mount it up underneath your sink or underneath your cabinet, run a screw in here along with your lid, or a lid ring like this. You can screw this whole thing up to the cabinet base, and then when you want to store them, you screw it in there, and that stays right there. So it's right there, it's outside, it's fresh, it's wherever you, right at your hand, right where you're cooking. Same as your bags of all your seeds. Why take a chance on dumping your seeds all over? Store them in a mason jar. Use your mason jars for a lot of different things. So you store your seeds inside of a mason jar, and you get a little scooper and scoop out and then do your seeds with it every day. So if you have one package of jars, you have a sterilization, you have your seeds, you have your methods on how they're going to be sprouted. You can see that this is not a lot of room. It really is not. Especially if you have somewhere to protect it and hide it and keep it. You'd be surprised how much nutrition you can get for very, very small costs, but yet give you something that you don't need refrigeration for. And even if you have to eat the jar for the first day, the harvest day is the day that you're going to eat this. Eat the whole thing. A pound of greens will make one heck of a nice little salad. You can put them on hamburgers. You can use them on just about anything for garnishes. You'd be surprised what you can use these for. Just be creative, because this is things that are being creative. Put them in soups and stews and use them in your vegetables. Once you started using your grains, you can use them in fermented foods. You can use them, learn to ferment them and keep them. Of course, fermenting is a whole different project, another thing that we'll talk about one day. Maybe I'll teach you. I'm from Kentucky, so I'm an old Kentucky boy. Who knows, I might just teach you even how to make some mash and beer and moonshine. I might even help you do some wine one day. But we'll teach you all about all this stuff, and that way you can get something that will put love in your van as well. But now this is just one good simple solution here to be able to add more nutrition and keep you sustained out on the market itself. So if you're out there around the springs and out in the mountains and you don't want to come back, throw about 4 or 5 of these bags in a few mason jars in your knapsack. You just about stay out indefinite. And when you wanted to, say even if you wanted to, you can sprout these maybe, all right, and grow them into plants. Start a garden with them. And to replenish your sprouts, well, all it is once your plant grows to maturity, it goes in what they call a bolting stage, and usually it comes up with a bolt, or you learn how and what each plant and how to harvest the seeds off of each plant. And then all you do is use those. It's like wheat plants, you know how they grow up with the little thing. Well, just take the top or take the bolts on top of all your, like your mung beans or your alfalfa and things like that, or even your peas or your broccolis. I'm sure you've seen broccoli bolt. Just got the little stem, comes up with, looks like a little flower on top. Or if you want the seeds, wait till it starts to droop a little bit. Chop that bolt off and put it loosely into a plastic bag, like a Walmart bag, and tie a knot around it to where it's sitting loosely. Set it off somewhere and let it dry. Once it's dry, slosh around a little bit, crunch it up. Before you know it, you'll start getting the seed pods bust loose. And voila, at the bottom, you'll be able to siphon those seeds out. So don't be afraid to learn to even start producing your own seeds. But anytime you see someone have a garden and it's late in the garden and the garden's almost dead, go by and ask them if they can have some of the bolts. Be surprised how many times that they'll let you do that. You have a cucumber, you have a radish or whatever, anything that with cucumbers, tomatoes is another things that you can use. But if you use a fruit that has its own seeds inside the fruit, then you need to learn how to pull and extract those seeds from the seed, from the fruit itself, and then dehydrate those to make your seeds. But figure out how to collect your seeds. That'd be a good thing for you to do some research on and learn more about. But hopefully this is one video that hopefully will go viral, and it'll hopefully teach you all one other step of survival. Now make sure you like and subscribe if you really thought this video was helpful, and do what you can to share with your friends and make sure that they help me get this channel up and actually operating where I can actually earn some AdSense off of it. That's what I'm trying to do. Remember to bring you all this stuff. It costs money to lay these out. So any kind of donations or anything to help me keep going and bringing these good quality videos to you, feel free to donate. You can donate through my PayPal. And the PayPal, is always one good way of getting the money quickly to me. So, and I'll leave those links in the description down at the bottom. So anything that you can do to help the ministry out, God bless each and one of you, and you all have a great day. Thanks so much for stopping by.